A paramedic begged police to clear Just Stop Oil protesters off the road on Waterloo Bridge yesterday so he could attend a life or death emergency. The blue light ambulance was trapped in gridlocked traffic as activists from the group blocked the road with a slow march protest.
Yeah, police made more than 40 arrests under the Public Order Act, and one furious bystander even took it upon himself to yell at the protesters.
Very good job. Stop a bit of oil. Protest in the right place. This is right. Yeah, I don't think it's okay because they're not doing it in the right way. Go to Saudi Arabia and complain. Go to Saudi Arabia and complain. You're very clever. Saudi Arabia will welcome you.
Just Stop Oil has said it's always been their policy to immediately move out of the way for emergency vehicles with blue lights on, and claims that the activists never blocked the side of the road the ambulance was on. Well,
with us in the studio is Dr. Patrick Hart, who's a doctor and a spokesperson for Just Stop Oil. Last time we met, and thank you for coming back into the studio, I asked you about this in particular and said, you know, would it not concern you as a GP when you're blocking roads? There's a possibility, if not even a probability, one could argue that could encumber emergency service vehicles getting to where they need to be, and that's exactly what we've seen happen. Have you changed your mind on this after yesterday's events?
So I want to say to you that it has always really concerned me, and it does really concern me. As you said, I'm a doctor, my business is healthcare. The idea of stopping or slowing down an ambulance getting to hospital in an emergency makes me sick to the pit of my stomach. I was on the bridge, opposite that chap you saw just then, watching the whole thing. If you'd like me to, I can tell you what happened. There were Just Stop Oil supporters marching from the south side in the northbound lane in a north direction. Police blocked both ends of the bridge and then later let through some traffic with that ambulance car. It was a car with one driver, and the ambulance cars aren't used to transport patients, it was just a driver, going the opposite way. At no point were there Just Stop Oil supporters in the road in the southbound direction.
Whether you were one side of the road or the other, the fact that you were there made that ambulance not be able to get where it needed to go, and it was an emergency service call. At the end of the day, if you weren't there, that wouldn't have happened.
So no. So this is the fundamental problem, right? What you're asking me is, in effect, are you someone who would sit down in front of an ambulance to stop it getting to where it needs to go in an emergency? The answer is absolutely no way, OK? But there are things in London every day that slow down and stop ambulances. So once a year, there's this huge disruption in London. They call it the London Marathon. They shut 26 miles of road for the best part of a day, all right? Even though that's planned, there's a really great study which shows that if you live near the marathon route and you have a heart attack on that day, you are 13% more likely to die.
But that doesn't
because ambulances slow down. No, my point is...
It doesn't justify your demonstrations, does it?
No, my point is you don't bring the London Marathon organisers and say, justify yourself. Yeah. All the things that happen in London...
I don't think there's any equivalence.
There absolutely is.
I get you.
There's all sorts of... prepare and plan for that. They know that there are different routes.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't make any difference. People are still more likely to die on marathon day. But I'm a runner. I think running is great. The London Marathon, great. I'm not criticising them. A wonderful thing. The point remains, there are all sorts of things that can slow down ambulances. You never ask them to justify themselves, only us. And the reason for that is...
Because you don't need to be doing it.
No, the reason for that is our message is terrifying. The London Marathon's message is, let's have a good time, raise some money. Everyone agrees with that. Our message is terrifying.
No, it's not that.
Our message is, if we drill for more oil and gas, we are locking in the deaths of human beings.
And sod that person in the back of the ambulance,
No,
yeah?
let me finish. We are locking in the deaths of a vast number of human beings in Britain, across the world, OK? If you don't like that message, the tendency is to say, well, these people must be awful. They must be terrible people. Am I a terrible person?
I don't think you're terrible people at all. I think you're well-intentioned. I just think you're going about your business in the wrong way. There's no real equivalence in big events that close roads down. You don't need to be doing this. I'm just suggesting, go and throw some soup at works of art if you must. Do not block traffic, because in that traffic will be emergency vehicles.
Also,
so how about a new MO? How about that?
I was here 2-3 days ago with you having a go at me for someone doing something in the work of art. So I'm not quite sure what you want us to do.
Well,
the point remains.
Well, I'd rather you did that than stopped ambulances.
There are marches happening all the time because there is an awful lot to be angry about right now. Okay, people are angry. There is so many things in the world which are making people deeply distressed, and they are marching about them. But we are the only ones where you ever say this, OK?
No, but that's not true. That's absolutely not true. Most of our show today has been talking about the pro-Palestinian marches.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think what we're trying to ask you, what we're trying to...
that will slow down
we've invited them on the programme on multiple occasions.
Well, please ask them that question.
Yeah, and
very good point.
Well, no, I'm not a fan of the lot of it,
The King's coronation,
speaking.
they shut lots of roads. Ambulance would have been slowed down. It is a fact. It would have happened. But we accept it because it's normal. Just Stop Oil are breaking through what's normal because it's an emergency.
But you're stopping ambulances. It's not an emergency. No, it's...
I am desperate. I do not want to be here. I want to be just doing my job.
It's not an emergency, Patrick.
I'm here.
It's not an emergency.
I'm here because we are in a life and death and emergency.
You people are hysterical. You have a kind of insane level of certitude about your campaign.
I tell you what.
Did you ever contemplate you might just be wrong? My standpoint is you might be right. I think I'm right. But you might be right. You don't even concede that I could be right.
My standpoint is
you have insane levels of certitude.
My standpoint is I wish every day I am wrong. I would love to be wrong. If I could wake up tomorrow and all of this wasn't true, I would come here and say, I feel like a right lemon. Sorry, I can't believe I was saying all that. But the fact is, we have overwhelming evidence that what a few rich people who own fossil fuel companies are doing is going to kill a massive number of people.
I say you're wrong. I say you're wrong.
I have to face living my whole life knowing that is something
that's your belief. I say you're wrong.
It's not a belief.
I say you're wrong.
It's science.
I say you're wrong. No. Don't cite
I
the
cannot
science.
stand by and watch that happen. I have very strong values. I believe very strongly that people
you're
deserve,
right and everybody else is wrong.
People deserve to be safe. And what I am doing is trying to make sure that my friends' kids that haven't even been born, have a chance
if it was
of a
my
safe
relative
future.
who desperately needed that ambulance, I'd be utterly heartbroken and disgusted at your actions. It also seems to be rather counterintuitive if you want less CO2 in the atmosphere to slow down traffic.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
If you don't want people to hate you,
create traffic jams
create a new method of demonstrating. The way you go about it makes people hate you and is counterproductive to your cause. You would have to accept that. It just is, Patrick. It just is. Look, by all means, I respect your convictions, all of you. You're decent people who believe you're doing the right thing. However, you just got to change the way you go about it. You really do. You can't stop ambulances and fire engines. It's a really bad thing to do, and it's counterproductive to what you're trying to achieve.
Just Stop Oil, you said that we're making people hate us.
Yes, you are.
There are 17% of the country who approve of Just Stop Oil. That's
17?
17. That is 3% more than the number of people who approve of the current government.
So it seems to me that means 83%
don't
approve.
83%.
So that's not
We're not getting anywhere.
But we're 3% more popular than the current government. They're
not hard to beat right now, if I'm honest with you.
You're setting the bar low there.
We're the second most unpopular.
I really do
setting the bar very low there.
I really appreciate you coming back
into the studio.
It's very good of you to do that. Thank you ever so much. Well, let's bring in Dr. David Lloyd, who's a GP in Harrow. David, we've got Patrick in the studio here, who himself is a doctor, and trying to argue that the tactics that Just Stop Oil used are needed in a climate emergency, and that it's their policy. They have a Blues and Twos policy to never get in the way of emergency service vehicles. Is that something that you buy after seeing the video yesterday?
I think I think hats off to Dr. Hart for coming into the surgery and facing such a barrage. I thought he was very impressive. As a bit of a lefty myself, I think we all have the right to protest, and it's a time that we do need lots and lots of protests, and I can see your programme is really concentrating on it today. I think we're levelling this at the wrong people. We really do need to have proper rules of engagement for these demonstrations that are happening every day all over London. London gets disrupted frequently because of these things, because that's the place where all the publicity happens. And Just Stop Oil is getting a lot of free publicity today because of this. And so I can see why they want to protest. But as you say, we can't stop ambulances. And if we had proper rules of engagement, agreed on between the police and the people putting on demonstrators, this would not happen. And I understand this ambulance did get through eventually and went to a different hospital. So it is very important to have the right rules. Talking about generations, I can hear you talking about young people and old people. I've got 2 children. One of them is a metropolitan policeman, and the other one is an emergency doctor. And we all are facing these problems every day in our jobs. And so I'm afraid I don't want ambulances to be stopped, but I don't want our right to protest to stop either.
Well, there's the conundrum, isn't it? I mean, is there any way that we can sort out a situation where, organisations like Just Stop Oil aren't allowed to block roads so that ambulances can get through? At least we need some kind of system where emergency vehicles are able to do their job. Otherwise, people will die because a group of people have decided to block the roads. That can't be right.
Yes, but I think you need. I don't know all the facts in this case. Dr. Hart seems to know a little bit more than I have. I've only just had a troll through Twitter/X, and I think there are 2 sides to this story. So it's a great one to blow up as an example of how bad these things are. But I think actually the real issue is how to protest properly and make sure that everybody who does it in the right way so that ambulances can get through, so the police can get on with their jobs. And we can realise just how important these issues are to debate, because we don't get a lot of debate in this country about the things that really are important. And I think pollution and I think climate change are reasonably important things to think about.
Indeed, you get lots of debate on TalkTV, Dr. Lloyd, so don't forget to tune in. And thank you very much for joining us, and to Dr. Patrick Hart. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
We have more of your texts and tweets coming in this lunchtime. Anne says, these silly, stupid people glue themselves here, there and everywhere. Phil has texted, why don't Just Stop Oil protest outside the oil companies? Dan says, properly arranged events allow the emergency services to plan their route. When they come across a closed road that shouldn't be there, they can't plan for it.